Hey guys, this is AwesomeJohn22 coming today with another review, and today we are taking a look at an animated figure as promised. It's a little late because of the issues I've been having with my internet, but here he is nonetheless, and I decided to go with this guy, just get a little bit of antagonism going, because this was quite an annoying character. If you don't know who this is Transformers Animated Deluxe Class Captain Jerkface. I'm sorry. I meant to say Sentinel Prime. That just kind of pops out sometimes. This is Transformers Animated Deluxe Class Captain Jerk. Sentinel Prime. Anyway, moving on from the name, because I'm just going to keep getting it wrong. Yeah, it's an animated figure. There's not a whole lot to say about it. It's good. But let's talk about why it's good, and in what ways it might not be, and in what ways it is. Because that's what we do in this review. Go ahead, get this guy transformed up through the magic of jump cuts. And here we have Captain Jerk, aka Sentinel Prime, keep slipping, in his vehicle mode. And in case you hadn't noticed from my previous, I don't even know what the word would be, mispronunciations of his name, I didn't really like Sentinel Prime in the show. I mean, he was a fun antagonist, but overall, I didn't really... He was a jerk. Let's just put it that way. Cool design, though, and he is a rival of Optimus Prime, so I did end up picking up the figure. As you can see here, we have his weapons. They're situated on his back. The handle for his shield pegs into a slot in the back of the vehicle. I'll just pull this off, and you can see the lance just kind of sits in this ring. It has this groove here, which... remove it, you can see there's a little clip that just kind of hangs onto that groove, and it doesn't stay insecure very well, as you saw, but it just kind of sits like that. And I mean, it's not a bad way to store the weapons. I'm going to set them off to the side now, but I mean, it doesn't resemble anything we would have seen in the show. And speaking of things that resemble things in the show or don't, Sentinel is very small. You can see here next to another standard Deluxe, I've got their back ends evened up. You can see the car, that being Jazz in this case, is actually longer than the actual truck part. Not counting the snowplow here, the actual truck is shorter than a Deluxe class car, and that really disappoints me, because in the show, in both modes, he was approximately as massive as Optimus Prime, and here we get this kind of undersized Deluxe. And while he does do kind of the Prime bulkhead thing and unfold from this and become a bit, bulkier, he doesn't ever really achieve that size. He's no Lockdown, but he is pretty cool, and his transformations simple. It's simple and interesting. It's an animated transformation. It's good, but not particularly challenging. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. First, I'm just going to lower this down to kind of get out of the way. You can see if you do that, not only can he no longer roll, but you can see the head, the Sentinel's big, massive chin head right there. First, we're going to take this section here, just kind of bring it back, and then it will actually peg in there like so. Then we're just going to kind of open everything up, and that's the best way to do this. Let's do it this way. Take these front sections, unpeg them from this front end. And I'll show it a little bit better over here if I can. Just kind of bring it, it's very tight. Kind of bring them around like so, and then bring them up. And they just kind of slot into place like that. And we can lower his hands, or his arms down rather. And then coming down here, we split the legs, bring his pelvic section down, and then the windshield will collapse up into his back. Next, we're going to split, bring the camera up real quick, split the snowplow section. It's also very tight. And then just accordion it outward, like so. Bring it down flush with the chest. Lift his head up. And just kind of get everything situated the way we want it. And there we have Sentinel Prime in his robot mode with his giant chin glory, and he does have a slight issue standing just because of the way this back section is lined up, because these pieces are fixed into place. They don't open up or anything to give him a better heel, unfortunately, so he's just kind of resting on a couple of protruding pieces of plastic. Just kind of, there we go. And I mean, he looks fine. He's a perfectly fine looking figure. Get the camera adjusted a little bit. He's got the Autobot Elite Guard symbol there on his chest. His chest looks like the front end of his truck, kind of, which is pretty nice. And his head sculpt is great. It's dead on Sentinel Prime from the series. Overall, his toy design is pretty close to the character model. It's not perfect, but it's pretty freaking close, and I do like it a lot. It's just he is, as I said, quite small, and I'll show that off rather simply by bringing in animated Optimus Prime here. You can see there's not a huge difference in their size. Optimus is a head and a hair taller, but Sentinel was about the same height as Optimus, maybe even a little bit taller, based on a couple of prominent scenes of them together. So this scale just doesn't really work for me. It just kind of bugs me that we never got a larger Sentinel. And yes, there were smaller Optimuses, but this Optimus just works so good in scale. I can't substitute another Optimus for this one on my shelf. I just can't justify it. Optimus is a much more important character than Sentinel, so I am more concerned with getting Optimus right than I am with getting Sentinel right. And yes, I do mean offense to Sentinel, because he's a jerk face. Anyway, taking Optimus out of the way, here we can see, we saw a little bit of his articulation already during transformation, but he does have full range of articulation in the legs, nothing at the feet, nothing at the waist, or, yeah, the waist. I'm always worried that I'm going to get waist and hips mixed up and confuse somebody. Anyway, his arms can go back and forth on these transformation joints. He has an elbow joint there. He has a bit forward and back here, and then there is a joint kind of hidden in this wheel bit, this like wheel well thing, I don't know what you'd actually call that acts as the actual rotation joint at the shoulder, and then he can bring his arms all the way out. His head is on a ball joint. It's a limited ball joint, but if you really want him to look up, you can use the transformation joint and kind of have him look up. It's not like his head's going to completely disappear into there, because his chin is enormous. Anyway, yeah, it's a decent figure with decent articulation. He can, as we saw in the intro to the video, hold both of his weapons, which is pretty nifty. I do wish he had a way of holding his lance forward rather than holding it up like a sword, because that just looks silly to me. But I mean, weapons in hand, he looks pretty good. He's not a bad looking figure. He's just a really freaking annoying character. But yeah, I do recommend the figure if you can get your hands on it now. Animated was a great series. The toys for Animated are great toys with great designs to them. So if you can get your hands on him for a fair enough price, something, you know, relatively close to the initial price of a deluxe at the time, or something comparable to a deluxe class price now, definitely pick him up. I'd even go a little higher than that. He's a fun little toy. And it is worth having one on your shelf to go alongside Optimus, because, man, those guys didn't like each other. But yeah, that's about it for this review, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it, because I enjoyed making it. Please help me out, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. In the description down below, you'll find links to all the other things I'm working on, including a link to the blog post containing a list of all the figures in my collection. Check that out, and if you see anything in it that you would like me to review, let me know and I will see what I can do. This has been Awesome John 22, and I will talk to you guys later.